Hello, Sumo fans. Sorry I'm 10 minutes late, but I'm in the general realm here. So day 9 is not a day that I typically stream, so we're a little early, which means we're a little early in the playoff picture, but it is looking quite interesting. For the purposes of tonight, I'm only going to be talking about the 1 and 2 spots, but certainly you're free to bring up the many 6 and 3s if you feel that you'd like to discuss them. So let's start with Ichiyamamoto. Ichiyamamoto. Okay. Did I picture Ichiyamamoto being at the top of the pack? Ever? No. This is very interesting considering A, he won the Hoshoryu show, and now he makes his top division emergence, and he's looking pretty good. But, as John always says, doesn't count. It's still too early. But he does get his Kachikoshi today against Tamawashi. To me, he looked a little shaky in the very beginning of the tournament. He had some of that, Abi footwork where his feet are coming up and he gets the guy out, but then he falls flat on his face. But he's really tightened things up. And, he went against Tamawashi. Now, Tamawashi's lost a step in the last couple of tournaments, unfortunately. But he was pretty strong against him. So he looks like a new guy. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. And this is in a tournament where all the Ozeki and Sekiwake are doing pretty good. This is not a tournament where they're all bombing and somebody from the bottom has to rise. So this is overall a pretty good tournament so far. Next, we have Churanaumi, Atami Fuji, Kirishima, and Kotonowaka, all 7 and 2. So Churanaumi is one of the newcomers and the only actual newcomer because Ichiyamamoto has reemerged. Hello, Mitch. He is the only newcomer who's actually doing well. I'm going to get into the new guys after I get through the playoff picture, but not only is he doing well, but he's 7 and 2 in the playoff picture. Today went against Endo, who, he's pretty beat up. You never know if you're going to get a good Endo tournament or a bad Endo tournament. So, he did his thing, but, I want to see him go against somebody a little tougher before I weigh in on it. But I'm pretty sure Churanaumi was not somebody who was voted for in the polls as to being one of the top new guys. So we're all going to be wrong in 42 opinions if he comes out and wins the U show or something. So next we have everybody's new favorite wrestler ever, Atami Fuji, 7 and 2. Did his thing against Onosho today. Onosho is not having a good tournament. However, Atami Fuji has looked strong the entire time in this 7 and 2 situation. So, 2 tournaments is a pattern. Atami Fuji was super dominant, almost won his first U show last tournament. He is poised to be throwing himself into the playoff picture again. It's going to be very, very, very exciting to see, Atami Fuji fight the top guys. He's going to get another shot. It's funny because John and I were talking about it. Could you imagine Taka Keisho against Atami Fuji again? He's like, Atami Fuji would have to do great. Well, Atami Fuji's doing great, so I can see it happening again in theory, although Taka Keisho, things aren't going swimmingly. We'll talk about that. Then we have Kirishima, the Ozeki. He should be in this position. It's nice to see him here. He was almost going to be joined by Hoshoryu, but we'll get into that. He took on Asanoyama, who returned yesterday, and he dealt a serious blow to Takikeisho yesterday. He tried very hard against Kirishima today. He was putting everything he had into that match. But Kirishima showed his excellent footwork at the edge, did what he needed to do. Asanoyama loses. Kirishima stays in the playoff picture. And next, the guy that a lot of people think is going to win the whole thing, and we've thought for some time he was going to make a move. Kota Nowaka, he just crushed the spirit of Hoshoryu today. That was a tough loss for him. But it's almost like Kota Nowaka woke up and said, this tournament's mine. And this is something that we've discussed was possible for him for quite some time. And now this is when he's choosing to shine. So let's get into who everybody is facing tomorrow. Then we'll talk about Takakeisho because it's required. So Ichiyamamoto is going up against Hiraumi tomorrow. Hiraumi is making quite the comeback. I think he has 4 or 5 wins in a row. He's always been a good fighter with great potential. Don't take your eyes off of him. He's not going to win any U-shows, but he might spoil all of week 2 for every guy that he faces. So keep an eye on him. We'll see if Ichiyamamoto is really as tough as he's been acting lately. Chirana Umi has Mitake Umi tomorrow. So that's sort of an interesting fight because Mitake Umi, as we know, is sort of a shell of his former self. And Chirana Umi is a new guy. So this is a match that Mitake Umi could easily just upstage the youngin. But if Chirana Umi is hungry enough, Mitake Umi is a beatable opponent. So it's really a question of how strong is he really. And we haven't seen him fight the toughest guys yet. So to my mind, he's untested. And not only that, but endurance. We're going into week 2. Getting your, butt kicked for a whole week you start to really feel it in the next week. So we'll see what happens with that. Atami Fuji has Shonana Umi, who is also 6-3, so he's in that 3rd place. Shonana Umi is also making a comeback to show that he's had some bumps in the road, but it's almost like this is the tournament where he's going to show that he's back. So that could be a tough match for him, but Atami Fuji is a beast. He is so strong. It's unbelievable. So I'm not rooting against him at this point. And then Kirishima's got Nishikigi tomorrow. So let's talk about yet another guy. Nishikigi was doing great a couple of tournaments ago. Was possibly the Yusho winner, fell out, gets injured in the next tournament, but still looked strong. Looks like he's back. And he could be a tough opponent for Kirishima. I still think Kirishima's probably going to win, but who knows? Nishikigi, he's strong. He has dusted Yokozuna before, so that's going to be a tough match for him. And Kota Nowaka has Gonoyama. So Gonoyama has been fascinating this tournament because he really is showing that he's got everything to be a top guy, but he needs a little more time. So his record's not reflecting how well he has fought in general. There's been a couple matches where he probably like to take those back. I expect that Kota Nowaka should be able to outpower Gonoyama. He's way stronger. But Gonoyama, give him a couple tournaments. He's gonna get stronger and stronger. He did beat Takakeisho, which I wasn't surprised. I had a feeling. It's like, this is the time Gonoyama's going to do it. And, of course, he did it in such an aggressive fashion that made Takakeisho look bad. So that just, makes it worse. But keep an eye on him. Because if he did beat Kota Nowaka, it would not shock me. Not one bit. So I see there's a lot of comments. So I'm going to read some of the comments. And then we'll get into some of my other stuff. Because I got a whole list of stuff. Let's see. Monster says, I did not expect Chirana Umi to be the only Juryo Promu T to be doing good at all. Literally no one voted for him on that poll. That's what I thought. I went back and looked and I'm like, nobody voted for him and he's 7-2? We stink at picking things. Mitch says, I don't think even his stable master picked him to win. I don't think so either. I, for one, am still mega salty this Basho despite the return to relative normalcy. You have to... Are you speaking because of Takakeisho or other reasons? I'll keep reading down and I'll see if you've answered that. This is shaping up to be a 12-3 U show. I would expect 12-3 U shows until we see the next real... How do I word this? The next real Ozeki Yokozuna contender. Like, no doubt about it. We all know what's going to happen, not what we have now. We're going to be seeing 12 and 3s for a very long time. I wouldn't say it's over for Takakeisho yet, although the chances are not good at this point. I'm going to speak about some specific moments in time when I get to him in a second. I really would not be surprised to see Hoshoryu or Takakeisho to run that table and get 12 and 3 and win this thing. Very pleased to see Shonan Naumi's performance. I still think he is a real star in the making. And Mitch says, FYI, Sumo database is not being an ass, so I can do all the research required to come to any calm, collected opinion. Well, that's what we expect from you, Mitch, for certain. So, I'll give you my thoughts on Takakeisho, then I'll give you my thoughts on the Yusho in general. Takakeisho has quite an uphill battle to become Yokozuna at this point. I do not necessarily think that means he won't win it, because as you can see, he won the last tournament 11 and 4. And the truth is, as good as Hoshoryu is, as good as Kirishima is, as good as Kotonowaka is, they have not been able to be consistent still. And you might say, oh, they've been Ozeki for a little while, give them time. Sure, I'm willing to give them time. I'm willing to give everybody all the time in the world. But when you see a star, you just know. Did anybody question if Teruno Fuji was going to make it to Yokozuna when he came back to the top division, and then he shot up to Ozeki, and then it was like, yeah, he'll be Yokozuna in a tournament, and guess what? He was. We don't have anybody like that. We do not have anybody close to that. We have people in their minds are close to that. We don't have anybody in reality that's close to that. So I think Takakeisho is capable of getting a 12 and 3 or an 11 and 4. I think he's capable of still winning the Yusho. I don't know that it'll happen, but he's capable of it. He could do it. But barring some real desperate desire from, say, Teruno Fuji and the Yokozuna Council, there's a couple of big moments that have already happened that put his Yokozuna race in doubt already, regardless of what the score is. And that loss against Asanoyama, mark my words, will be looked upon when making decisions for Takakeisho. Here's the man who should be Yokozuna now if he had lived up to his Ozeki standards, both in skill, because he should have been Yokozuna already, and in conduct, whether or not that was fair or not. Asanoyama shouldn't be where he is. He should be a Yokozuna. So he comes in, he's all beat up, he's all hurt, and he dominated Takakeisho, almost showing him, like, if you can't beat me, how can you be Yokozuna? So, I don't know. I don't think it's very good. I didn't think there was a great chance for Takakeisho to do it anyway, because it's really a monumental task for anybody to win back-to-back Yushos when you're not Teruno Fuji, Hakuho, all these names of the past. We know, Takakeisho included, as much as I love him and as much as he is one of the higher level fighters in this whole thing, they are not the same caliber of fighter of the guys of the past. And I think we might not see Yokozuna for a long time. I hope I'm wrong about that. I really do, because you snap your fingers and that whole situation could change. But right now, I'm feeling a little negative about the Takakeisho thing. However, if he wasn't going for a Yokozuna run, I would be feeling pretty good right now. So I'm hemming and hawing. His sumo hasn't been perfect, but he's fighting Ozeki Sumo, who's doing what he needs to do. He's doing that 2 tournaments in a row. He hasn't hurt himself. He's actually doing pretty well if you weren't considering that he needs to dominate to be a Yokozuna. So I'm not going to get negative about him in general. I just don't think the Yokozuna thing's going to happen. Hope I'm wrong. But I'll be back again tomorrow and the day after that, and maybe I'll be singing a different tune. I don't know. Let's see what other comments we have. Monster says, Takakeisho, also my fantasy team, is doing garbage. I think Mitch can talk about that too. I did horrible in Guess the Banzuke, my first time ever. I'm doing horrible in ISP. I never do this bad unless I forget to make picks. And I think I forgot one day. I'm doing horrible. What's wrong with me? I don't know. Monster says, Wakamoto Haru is not looking good, man. No, he's not. He went from Ozeki contender to he's just getting beat up. And it's kind of like what I was just saying. I think we've all been spoiled for many, many years, having the Hakuho, Kakeru, Haramafuji, Hoshoryu, all these guys that have come before, made it look like not anybody could do it, but that if you're of that caliber, if you're Ozeki, if you're Yokozuna, you're just going to do this. I don't think the guys of today are as tough, physically or mentally. I think as soon as you hear Ozeki, they start to fall apart. Or they become Ozeki and they start to fall apart. I would say Kirishima and Hoshoryu are the exceptions. They're hanging in there. But they haven't been dominant yet. This tournament could change a lot of that. Both perceptions and, reality. But right now, I'm tentative on them. Mitch says, once again, how much do you think Takakeisho is kicking himself for losing to Abi last November? He'll probably never forget it. That'll be one of those moments where he just thinks about it and thinks about it and thinks about it. I know I do. Monster says, Asanoyama coming back from Kyujo on day 8 and messing up Takakeisho's Yoko run is putting me back on the Asanoyama hater squad. Yeah, it's one of those things. He really did, no matter what happens in the end of this tournament, that was a definitive day for Takakeisho, and Asanoyama just upset the apple cart. There's no question about it. That was a pivotal moment. The Takakeisho is not going to forget either. Mitch says, I'm tied with Tobizaru with a whopping 3-6. You are linked to Tobizaru forever. When I see Tobizaru, I think of Mitch. So it's only appropriate that you'd have the exact same score. I think these past two Basho are my worst ever I've done. Last Basho almost doesn't count. It was a weird one. This one, in some ways, is kind of normal. Like, the Ozeki are doing good. They in the beginning anyway, the rest of the Sanyaku was doing good. And then everybody's, nobody's catastrophic. Like, oh no, not him. So it's kind of a more normal tournament minus a dominant Yokozuna. And I have found a new reason to dislike Tobizaru, and I say this is one of my more creative reasons. Okay, I'm waiting. What's your reason? While you come up with your reason, I'm going to just quickly talk about the new guys, and then we'll do a little bit of Juryo. Not a lot. I don't like to focus on Juryo till we get to the end, and there's a better picture of what's going on with Juryo. But so here's the records for the new guys. Kita Nowaka 4-5, Tohakuryu 2-7, Roga 2-7. I'm not surprised by Roga. I feel like he just squeaked by. Tomokaze, I'm not really. I got Tomokaze 5-4. I know he's not a new guy, but new as of, hasn't been there for 4 years. Tomokaze's still kind of hurt. So he's doing the best he can do. I'm sure he's having an endurance situation too. Tohakuryu, lots and lots of fans of him, and it looks like he's going to be going right back to Juryo. Going to have to hope for a miracle for him. If he makes a miraculous week 2 comeback, then it'll be awesome. And everybody will be on the Tohakuryu train. So we can think about that today. But tomorrow, he could be Makikoshi, and we're talking about something else. And then in the Juryo playoff situation, 3 men tied for the lead: Onosato, Shiden, and Koto Shoho. So Koto Shoho should be leading, because he should be a way better fighter than he's been. Onosato, this is him showing off again. I don't know much about Shiden, so I would need you guys to make some comments, because he wasn't on my radar. I have not been watching him at all. Onosato, not surprised. Koto Shoho, not surprised. In fact, Koto Shoho should win the whole thing, but let's see what happens. Oh, I can't help but laugh. he, meaning Tobizaru, made the great Kimura Konosuke lose his shoe. Yeah, he was probably upset about it too, so. Okay, I get it. That's an actual knock against Tobizaru. But, he had a smile on his face when he did it, so I don't know. Excuse me. Man, Juryo promotions are a mess right now. You see, this is the Yokozuna Council, not the Yokozuna Council, just the rankings committee. This is what happens every time they do one of these, major switch-ups, right? We're going to demote all these guys, and we're going to promote all 5 of these new Juryo men. And they all going to go right back down. The irony is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. That's going to make them very skittish the next time. With the exception of, as soon as Haku Oho shows up in January, they're going to be like, can we promote him? Can you just get a Zensho Yusho? Can you just give us something? Because we want to hurry up and get you back up. And that's how we all feel, too, because, mark my words, Haku Oho is probably the next guy where you're going to see him and go, oh, yeah, he'll be Yokozuna soon. That's who I think will be the next Yokozuna. Unless Kirishima finds a way to win this tournament, and then all of a sudden he's on a Yokozuna run. Okay. Mitch says, Shiden was the one that got promoted to Juryo for the first time a year or two ago, then immediately got suspended, I think, for gambling with Hidanumi. Excuse me. Oh, so he was his gambling partner. That's interesting. That explains why I don't know him, though. Shiden is a pretty skilled wrestler who has had a rough career, getting injured on his first Juryo tournament, and the next time he made it to Juryo, he got suspended. I don't remember that well, Mitch. It's probably right. He's above the level he's fighting at, though, in my opinion, so him doing well isn't too surprising. Okay. So what that means is pretty much the men who should be doing good are doing good in Juryo. So we'll see what happens. I got a strong feeling about Onosato, but I'm starting to get a little skittish about predictions because A, I'm always wrong, but B, people are always surprising me because I had absolutely no faith in Ichiyamamoto. And when I did have faith in Ichiyamamoto, he would just crash out in a Juryo. So I don't know. Nobody is predictable. Nobody's consistent and nobody's predictable. Makes it absolutely impossible to do fantasy sumo or sumo podcasts without being completely wrong all the time. Okay, so he got on the database. All right, Mitch, here's your first contribution. The word from the database is first promoted in January 2022, got suspended for that tournament, then got stuck in Makushita until Nagoya 2023 when he finally got back up. Those suspensions, man. Whew. They're killing a couple of guys. Oh, let's talk about this interesting situation. What do you guys all think about Wakataka Kage? My thought is that he should have waited another tournament at least. I mean, he's not doing that well. I mean, to come back and he's in Makushita right now, right? To come back and be in Makushita and not be able to dominate, he shouldn't come back. You're just wearing yourself down. He should just drop out now, take a couple more tournaments off. Because if he gets himself in good shape, then it'll be no problem. He'll shoot back up. But if he just wears himself down for no good reason, he's going to wind up like Asanoyama. Monster says, I'm still probably picking Onosata for my Kachi Clash if he's going up too. Bro, it's crazy. He's going up. Excuse me, this winter weather. Unless he has some huge collapse, I think Onosato's going up next time. If I remember correctly, Shiba at the time, was Hidaumi's Tsukibito, which is how he got in trouble by proxy, right? So he's with him anyway, so all guilty by association. You have to go with the guy because you have to follow him everywhere. Well, since I didn't know anything about him, when they're the lower rank guys, if I'm tell me if I'm right about this or not. Usually the lower rank guys, they don't really call them out as much when one of these things happens, so people kind of forget about it by the time they get up. Like, I didn't remember that Wakamoto Haru was the guy that Abi, tied up on Instagram or wherever it was, and they all got in trouble. I had no idea that was him until somebody else brought it up. So, hopefully he gets a fresh start. And Monster says, Wakataka Kage should be dominating. You're right. He should be. If he's in good shape, he should just, clear the field. But I don't think he's in good enough shape right now. Mitch says, Wakataka Kage is 3-2 at the moment. If he wins out and goes 5-2, he might get re-promoted depending on what happens above him. Well, I mean, that's a tall order, though. We're going to have to see what happens. I guess that's the benefit, is that you don't fight as many matches, but I don't know. He didn't look that good in the matches that I saw. So I'm not optimistic about this decision. Well, I guess it could be worse for Wakataka Kage. Oh, please explain. Actually, maybe you shouldn't, because you might cause something to happen. I'm kidding. Oh, crap, that reminds me. How is Tsurugisho suddenly winning only after he injured his leg? That's one of those mysteries that we may never know the answer to. I don't understand how he is... Excuse me. I don't understand how he is beating people literally on one leg. Now, one of them was one of the young guys, but that guy should be embarrassed. He probably went home and got yelled at by his stable master. Like, what are you doing out there? But Tsurugisho is strong. I mean, he's showing everybody he belongs where he is. And that if he wasn't hurt, he'd probably be throwing himself in the playoff picture again. Gotta give him credit. Tamawashi, he's fighting pretty strong. I mean, people are starting to get so much better than him. It's part of the problem. But he's fighting strong. Nishiki Sada no Umi? Oh my goodness. Look at Sada no Umi. What happened to him? He's doing amazing. So far, I'm seeing Azumaru, Hakuoho, Hitoshi being on the short list to get the boot out of Juryo. Yeah. Definitely Azumaru and Hakuoho. I don't know Hitoshi. I hadn't looked at that yet. I'm so sad for Hokuto Fuji fighting after that horrible concussion the other day. Hokuto Fuji, man, he's got to be the toughest man in sumo. That's all I got to say. For how many years he's been fighting, and I'm not sure how many, he has crushed his skull in every battle since the beginning of time. And I can't imagine how many concussions he's fought with up until now. And now he's fighting like a machine, and he's all messed up in the head. We'll get John's take on this definitely in the recap show, but John's probably hurting a little bit. Monster says, Tsurugisho beat both Tohakuryu and Kitonowaka. Well, that's it. And I almost wondered as I'm watching those matches. I'm thinking, did Tsurugisho come in because he knew it was those two guys and he's like, I could probably beat them with one leg? And I don't mean that in an egotistical or arrogant way. Was he like hedging his bets? Like, if he had had anybody else, would he have said, I need to drop out? Or did he say, you know what, I should try it because I could get 2 wins? And, in the situation he's in, you're always just trying to stay in the top division. Even if you get like a 7-8 or 6-9, some of those wins, those 2 wins could matter in the end, whether he gets kicked out or not. So he's just scraping to stay in the top division, and there's nothing else that he's going for at this point. Yeah, both Tohakuryu and Kitonowaka, I think they've been humbled. Not that I know for sure if they had any sort of illusions of doing better, but to get beaten by a one-legged man, you're not ready. You're just not ready, guys. Mitch says Haku oh boy, that's a hard one. Hakuyozan, Takeru Fuji are probably locks to get promoted. If Tochi Musashi wins out, he'll be the next in line, followed by Sushimanda. Also, Kita Harina will get an auto promotion with the 7-0 show. Wow, that's a lot of new names, Mitch. They better hurry up and get promoted so that I hear their names enough that they just roll off the tongue. I think Takeru Fuji I like because it's like Takeda Fuji, but it's throwing me off. His knee bandages actually remind me so much of Tochinoshin. Having to change your entire style around an injury is something extremely difficult. This is true, and very few people can pull it off. They're very special fighters who can pull it off, and that almost gets lost in the grand scheme of things because, you know, these guys are so beat up they can never reach their potential. At least Tochinoshin got up to Ozeki, but many of these guys, like, they just stay injured. But, like, to be injured and to stay fighting for as many tournaments as they do and to be competitive, it tells you how tough those guys are. Monster says, frankly, I'm looking at Roga, Kitanowaka, and Tohakudu, and they're all getting trounced. It's sad. Yeah, it's very sad. I wasn't expecting it to be everybody. And obviously I wasn't expecting Shurnana Omi to be okay when everyone else is not. But this is how it goes, you know. Fresh faces to the upper division. Try again, guys. Try again. Oh, yeah, I want to see the Kitaharima Yusho. That would be hype. Yeah, I need to see more of these guys before I can even get excited. Their names are very difficult for me to be seeing for the first time. Akita Harima Yusho would be amazing to see. Who would have seen that coming? In retrospect, I can't believe Tohakudu almost beat Ichiyamamoto on day one. Could you imagine? It changes the whole complexity of the situation. Maybe Tohakudu goes on a run and Ichiyamamoto falls apart, which would be somewhat typical for Ichiyamamoto. And he didn't look that great against Tohakudu. That was actually the match I was talking about when I said, you know, Ichiyamamoto looked a little sketchy, and I thought, oh, here we go again. But then he just tightened up. With that said, he does have that style like Abi that seems a little limiting in that if you can't keep the consistency going, like you're good for a U show, but you're not good for making a run. So, but I'm jumping way ahead here. We don't have to be thinking about that yet. We just have to wonder if Ichiyamamoto is going to win the whole thing. I don't think so, but we know crazier things have happened. It'd be interesting to see Atami Fuji pull it off a second time. Just think about that for a second. Here we are in day 9, and the picture looks a certain way. By day 15, we're going to be talking about something completely different. We might be talking about Atami Fuji Yusho. We might be talking Kirishima Yusho going on a Yokozuna run. We could be talking about Kotonowaka going on an Ozeki run. The picture changes so much in the next couple days. This is the best part of the tournament. So, we will have to see. I am just happy to see Ichiyamamoto out of Juryo and back where I always thought where he deserves to be, lower mid Maegashira. This is what John thought. John was on the Ichiyamamoto train for a long time and was really surprised and disappointed to see him lose that spot. So maybe it's just he had some hiccups and now he's finally going to show his time. Mitch says, if Kita Harima gets promoted, this will be the 9th time that he will have gotten a Juryo promotion. He spent a whole basho in the top division back in 2016, rooting for another win for the old farts. Were you an Ikisayama fan as well? John absolutely adores Ikisayama. It's always good to root for the old guys to make a comeback. We've seen some very exciting, interesting situations there. We saw Tamawashi do it back when he was 35, I think. And now he's like 39, so it's like he was old then. I don't know what he is now. And, we had Tochinoshin pull it off. It wasn't old, but, he had fallen quite a bit, and to rise all the way up to become Ozeki is just insane. Oh, Tochinoshin, we miss you. Mitch says, if Kita Harima gets... Oh, no, I read that one. Monster says, it's way too early to predict this. Mitch is right. It's looking like a 12-win or even 11-win Yusho, potentially. Oh, yeah. It's definitely too early. In fact, I don't usually even live stream on Monday because it's too early. But it's fun to kind of talk about the different... It's fun to talk about Ichiyamamoto right now. Because 3 days from now, he's probably going to not be there. I'll be shocked if he is, but 3 days from now, he's probably going to fall out. New guys are going to emerge, and it's going to be wild. We might even get like a 6-way playoff on Sunday. It would be tied for the highest number of Juryo promotions ever if Kita Harima wins. That's cool. Tamawashi just turned 39 in day 5 of the spa show. Yes. I didn't know it was day 5, but I knew it was his birthday during the spa show. And I was supposed to remember that. We talked about that in the preview show. But I did remember that it was coming. Even better would be if Kita Harima gets demoted and then promoted again a 10th time. Well, I don't think he would like that, but hey, if you get a record, at least you can say you have a record. I'm going to have to look into him. I don't know him. I should know him. I got to get on the Sumo database because that's where the action is. So, what do you guys think? Honestly and truly, is Takakeisho going to pull this off? Or is it just done? Like, is it already done? Or is he going to win this Yusho? It's a big question. I refuse to weigh in on it. I'm going along for the ride. I'm not as anxious and freaked out as normally. I'm enjoying that he's fighting pretty well. I'm not thinking about, what he could gain or what he's lost. I'm just kind of going with the flow because, as we have all said multiple times, this Yusho's wild. We're never getting these Zensho Yushos again. We're never getting a 13-2 again. It'll be a fluke if we ever get that. So this is going to be a 12-3 or an 11-4 again. So anything is possible. Monster says Tamawashi is looking too strong for his rank. He's looking mostly recovered from his injury and should easily break those records. He looks good. Yeah, I was surprised to see him heal like that and just come back and act as if he's 34 again. I mean, the guy is immortal, as we always say. And Mitch has weighed in. Probably not, but the chance is better than 0. Couldn't put it better myself, Mitch. That's pretty much it. There's a small chance, but likely not. And Monster says, I have no idea who wins at all. Me either. I don't even know if we'll know on Wednesday, like even have an idea. But at least we're going to know who's really pushing. Some of these guys are going to fall out. It's fun to watch like the giant like 12-person tie just dwindle day by day by day. Mitch says, I'm just waiting for Takakeisho versus Kotonowaka. I want to see if Takakeisho gives the roundhouses. Unless Takakeisho is not feeling up to him, like something weird happens, him and Kotonowaka are going to box. There's no question about it. That's going to be a brutal fight. I want to see it too, but I'm just afraid. I'm afraid. I see someone like Kotonowaka being as large as Takakeisho and doesn't look like he ran up 10 flights of stairs before he even starts the bouts. It's always shocked me how consistent he was despite that. Well, I actually think the reason Takakeisho's out of breath is actually his nose. He has, I've noticed this over the years. He has, either a deviated septum or a broken nose or something. He gets these random nosebleeds all the time in the hallway leading up to the matches. So he can't breathe through his nose like everybody else. Like, I think it's all messed up in there. So he's got to breathe through his mouth. Yes, he doesn't seem to have the same stamina as everybody else, obviously, because he outputs all this power and then it's gone. But the breathing has a lot to do with the fact that I don't think he can breathe well through his nose. I wouldn't be shocked if he had previous broken noses that aren't healing properly. So that is an explanation. Many people are breathing deeply through their nose and out their mouth as they are done with a match, and he is not doing that. Watch. You'll see it. But yes, Kota Nowaka is a big, big man. If he could just harness everything, he could definitely... He looks like a Yokozuna now. He looks like a Yokozuna. He's got to get it and put everything together and be consistent. We have no consistency. That's all I have to say about that. Kota Nowaka, you look great now, but do I expect it in January? I don't know. I hope he's figured something out. Right now, I just need everyone with more wins than Takikeisho to lose. Yeah, right. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm nervous every time he tries to get on the dohyo. He looks like he's going to trip and fall. Well, that's the thing. I've discussed this many, many times, and it's the hard truth. Takikeisho probably was not meant to be a sumo wrestler. There's a reason why short men aren't typically told to go into sumo. And if they do go into sumo, they look like Midori Fuji or Enho. They don't look like Takikeisho. So Takikeisho has made himself into a massive man, but he doesn't have the height to support it. So, no wonder why he's destroyed every part of his body. It's just... So, yeah, he tries to walk up onto the dohyo, and it's like his stomach's in the way. His arms are not balancing him that great. What can you do? Hey, Quackadoo. Big Teru. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing him again. If he comes back, I think he comes back in January and either wins the whole thing or shows up to do a Yokozuna ceremony and retires. Mitch, you make me laugh, but also you say the craziest stuff. Someone really needs to get him a step stool if he ever makes Yokozuna. Well, I think that's the reason they don't force him to put his hands all the way down, because most guys, their hands are down if they do the same thing that Takikeisho does. Monster says, we need to talk about how bad Wakamoto Haru has been fighting. It's bad. It's really bad. I think he's hurt. I think it's one of those secret injuries. But I also think he's a shadow. He's a total shadow of the fighter he once was. Hey, Eddie, I'm glad you can make it. Hakiyoi from Guatemala. Awesome. Very awesome. What time is it there? Time difference has got to be crazy. And that's probably why it's hard for you to catch us live. Wakamoto Haru, he can't. I think he got an injury when he was going on his Ozeki run, and I think it's nagging, it's not healing, and now it's also in his head. So he can't do any of his I told you, he has a risky style of sumo, very prone to an injury. He can't do his crazy risky stuff anymore, so he's not winning the way he was. Mitch, he can get them down, he just occasionally decides he doesn't want to. I'm not saying he can't. I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying that I think they give him a pass, or they don't notice. I don't know how they couldn't notice, but people are freaking out on the internet about that. Day one. Oh, they're doing it again. Takikeisho's cheating. I hate him. Blah, blah, blah. You hate a ham sandwich, okay? You just hate. You could hate anything. Cut it out. It's only 9:09, so you're only an hour behind. That's cool. Quackadoo. Wakataka not doing well. Yes, we talked about that. Neither Wakataka Kage, Wakamoto Haru. The brothers, see, Wakamoto Haru cannot sit out. Wakataka Kage should sit out. It was nice while it lasted, I guess. Yes, I'm going to end on this point that I was thinking about all afternoon after I watched Sumo. I think, unfortunately, Sumo fans, we cannot expect the things that we could have expected if we were Sumo fans of the past. The wrestlers of today, they're not as tough mentally or physically, and I'm not saying that as a value judgment. I'm saying that a lot of the standards are weaker. Also not saying that as a value judgment. The training styles are different. The values are different. What they go through is different. There's a lot less guys in total. So just everything is different. And I don't think we're going to see the kinds of sumo wrestlers that you've seen in the past again. I think this is the new sumo world. And we should just be very, very appreciative of every basho with every guy that we like. And if somebody's going on a Yokozuna run, an Ozeki run, Sanyaku, trying to get into Sanyaku, unless they're a horrible human being, which I don't think we would ever know that about them, you should root for them. You should be super positive and root for them, because it's a way bigger climb than it was in the past. Because these guys just, they're not the same. You're going to see that with Haku Oho, I think. You're going to see him, if he doesn't get injured, you're going to see him be such a higher caliber than everybody else. Because his coach demands it. And he must have his own level of talent. Let's see. I only hate ham sandwiches if they don't have condiments on them. I agree. Ham sandwiches are pretty plain without condiments. Daisho was particularly fierce last night. Daisho is one fierce dude. I think if he, had a different style where he could do throws from time to time, he could, not have as much wear and tear. But he's a beast. A definite beast. As was Kotonowaka. Kotonowaka looks like a man on a mission. It would not shock me if he won the whole thing. But it is early. And he could have a mental collapse. It is a fact. Saw Akebono talk about it in a YouTube video. Akebono is correct. No one can convince me otherwise. And this goes in every sport. American sports too. The standards are different. There's a lot more exceptions. There's a lot more, and I'm not making a value judgment on it. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad, but what I am saying is you cannot expect to get the same caliber of fighter that you had 20 years ago. It's never going to happen. Maybe one or two guys, if you're lucky. The vast majority are going to be exactly the way we see. They're going to be great for some tournaments. They're going to be bad for some tournaments, and there will be no consistency to them. Kwakadu says there are some people who really do not like Takakeisho. Oh, I know. I read the comments. There's a lot of Takakeisho haters out there. And to them I say, shame on you. You have no good reason besides the fact that you're a hater. So there. Monster says there isn't much interest in sumo. I'm not sure when the next great Rikishi might appear. Hoshoryu saves sumo in Yokozuna and loves seeing Nishiki take flight. Okay, so there isn't as much interest in sumo in terms of people wanting to get into it. I really think Haku Oho is the next great Rikishi, but he's going to have to stay healthy. But everything about him suggests to me that he's the next great Rikishi. This is how I feel about it. Hoshoryu could save sumo if he makes it to Yokozuna, but he can't be losing matches like he did against Kotonowaka today. For him, like I talked about Takakeisho losing to Asanoyama, for Hoshoryu, today's loss was a brutal, brutal loss that he should never, ever let go out of his mind. He got overpowered by Kotonowaka. He can't If he wants to be Yokozuna, he cannot let that happen. He can't ever get himself in a position where he can just get crushed like that. He's going to have to either get bigger or evade. Evade. Oh, Nishikigi. I love Nishikigi. Monster says, sports are in a tough place at the moment. They are still relying heavily on the diminishing TV industry and haven't found the next profitable business model yet. Well, it's one of those things where how do you create the next thing, or how do you find the next thing? We're almost in a time period in general of a decline of creativity because we got so used to like, this is the mode and this is how we do things. Whereas the people of the past had to create those modes and create the next thing. We almost are living in like some sort of like autopilot all the time. So it's got to get tough for the next creative thing to come out. Yep, I kind of hated Kota no Waka for that. I understand. I feel like Kota no Waka could be a love him or hate him kind of guy. Just by the way he fights. And he hurts guys too. And they get hurt. But fighting him can result in injuries. And Hoshoryu is lucky he didn't get hurt because it's happened to many. I think Hakuoho has a big danger of being too injury prone. I won't hold my breath for him. I agree with that. Okay. But I feel like that's everybody to some degree. But yes, injury, that's what I worry about. That's why I always qualify with, if he stays healthy. Hakuho is only 181 though. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. All right. I'm going to do it. Oh. Takakeisho has zero patience with Kota no Waka. I think a good chunk of people here are Takakeisho fans. And we have some disdain for Kota no Waka, which means that could be a great match to watch Takakeisho pound on him. Monster, indie artists are carrying stuff very hard right now. It isn't all bad when I think of it that way. That's the way it has to be. When a system becomes too big and predictable, independent people have to come up from the ground and start something new. And if you don't, then you get stagnant like we are now. Yes, it is short, but short doesn't always mean a problem. It means a problem for Takakeisho because he's short with short arms. So his arms can't throw anybody. His arms can't pick anybody up. His arms can't leg pick. I don't think Hakuoho has that problem. And Mitch says, I think my new favorite person in sumo right now is Azumazeki Oyakata. Did you see how he called for that Monoi during one of the matches that I don't remember? No, I'll have to go back. I wish you could tell me which match it was, but I can go back. What do you know what day it was? Abi is number 1. AB. Abundo. Abi is another one of those guys where you love him or hate him. Some people hate him so much. I am not an Abi hater. I like Abi. But some people just hate him so much. Don't read the comment section if you don't want to hear your favorite wrestler get trashed. That would be my advice to you. I was very, very angry during the Takakeisho Atami Fuji days. And then I got over it and thought it was funny after a while. It's like, okay. Hanka Keisho, heard a lot of those. Abi, there's a lot of comments about his chaos side. But then there are people who love him. These streams might as well be the official Takakeisho fan club. Yeah, I've thought about that. I'll tell you though, it's probably why some people don't like this channel. They don't like the Takakeisho fan club. But you know what? I love that a lot of you guys are Takakeisho fans, so I'll take it. Ex Koto Shogiku looking great in the judge's attire. I do love it. And I love Koto Shogiku. Glad to see him back. Working on it day 8 or 9. He almost launched his blanket off himself. I'll have to look at. I'll watch 8 and 9 over again. Abi is legit. I love Abi. He is chaotic, and you never know if he's gonna beat you or not. And I like the Supati. Takakeisho actually tried that the other day, and it didn't look as good as the way Abi does it. It's like, maybe not. I think he did this party today. Like the actual wave that Abi does. Abi's coach was like a total like monster with that. Interesting point about indie artists. Perhaps it also relates to video games, other entertainment, and creative pursuits. It absolutely does. We're seeing a across-the-board trend here in every avenue you can think of. Sports, entertainment, music, video games, art in general. It's time for the indies to rise up. Ura, my main dude. Ura, always the man. Dr. Takasu, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Hang. Haters are secret fans. Haters are secret fans. They always seem to know an awful lot about the guys that they hate, sometimes even more than the fans of that person. Takekeisho Yusho or Hoshoryu. I would be very happy with the Takekeisho Yusho. I'm gonna just throw that positivity out there. Hoshoryu, if he gets it, he's just gonna demolish everybody in his path. I do also mean it in that way, Abundo. It's true. Day 9 Juryo Aqua versus Yuma. Okay, I'm going to check that out. Let's hear it for Ichiyamamoto leading the pack this far. Let's do a clap for Ichiyamamoto because this is probably, it may not last a couple days from now. And Eddie says, Keisho Yusho. We got a nice little hamster emoji here. I love the hamster Keisho. Ooh, Aqua versus Yuma will be good. Okay. I must go. I know it's abrupt, but I must go for tonight. I'll be back again tomorrow. I'll be back again Wednesday. So anything that you didn't get to say tonight, make sure you remember it. We'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll try to start a little bit earlier tomorrow if I can, and I'll put it in the community tab if that happens. I want to see Takekeisho's Dohyo Iri. So do I, Eddie. I'm almost surprised that he didn't go full Ace Attorney and yell hold it when he launched his hand into orbit. Can you make that meme? Could you do it? Because that'd be amazing. Maybe I should do it. I never remember to do it later on, but that would be funny. Okay, AB, I'll let you ask that question and see if people answer. I did not join that. All right, guys. I'm going to end. I hopefully will see you all tomorrow. Save that meme, Mitch. Put in a comment. Tell me what the meme is. Put in comments so that people come and watch the streams. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. You better come back.